So can you guys see that full screen? Yeah.
Yeah.
So my research was on driving equality. Obviously, the more automotive industry is very male dominant. So do some research on the challenges faced by women starting out in the industry. So my hypothesis was that I believe that even with the progression of equality and gender pay gap in the automotive industry, there's still a large percentage of females facing challenges when they start out in this field. So then my main question for the research was to find out what challenges do they encounter in the automotive industry. So just a bit of previous research. So these are just some statistics. So as a technician, the numbers are very low. Like you say, you got 2%, 1%, and 26% as technicians or other sort of hands-on roles. And then the other percentages are board level, executive level, senior manager and manager. So there's more in the office based. This data was taken from some research done in 2021. So the overall percentage of females in the automotive industry is 20%, increasing from 2019, which was 16%. So it's still very low numbers of females in the industry, be it technician level or managerial positions. So the research was just to see why there was such a low number of females in it. Some previous case studies. One of the earliest ones was 1968, the Ford Women's Strike action. So they made a film on this, made in Dagenham, where all the sewists, the ladies who make all the trim, they got classified under unskilled labour. So they had a pay decrease as it was unskilled, and which affected a lot of women. So it says 187 of them walked out and did a lot of protests. So this went on for a couple of years, which then led directly to the Equal Pay Act. And then I got the 2020 Deloitte research, which was based upon both male and female, and it was surveys and interviews in 2020 was to just generate a representative point of how the individual's organisation and industry can help drive gender diversity and inclusion. And then the latest bit of research I got is the Chase research, which was about talking about the strides that have been made in recent years. So the progression of this. So obviously you can see from the statistics I had in the previous slide that it is a growing number, but it's still not very. It's still very male dominant. So my research methods. I did an online questionnaire, which was fully anonymous. All the people I asked were above 18, so I didn't need to create any forms for them to fill out for parents and stuff. And there was both within college and in the workplace. So I aimed it at both industry and students. So a lot of people I worked with previously, they managed to answer to it. So out of 20 invitations, I had 11 replies. So I had just over 50% back, which gave me quite a bit of information to work with. And then the focus group was aimed specifically at students studying both mechanical repair and body and paint. So these were the 5 students in college at the minute, where they managed to answer a few questions, and it's quite collaborative. So open discussions where some opinions differ to others based on their experience, and obviously there's different ages in college, so I was getting the answers back from different perspectives. So because of my questionnaire and my focus group, I had a lot of qualitative data. So I used a thematic analysis method, so made sure I covered all the aspects of it. From the findings, I created a word cloud with common challenges that all the participants have faced. So that's both from the focus group and the online questionnaire. So these are some of the challenges that they face. A lot of made feel uncomfortable, diversity hire, flirting, not trusted are the ones that kept popping up, harassment, and just generally treated unfairly against the male technician. So the challenge that of the main challenges were the diversity hire, where they feel like they've just been employed just to say they have a female technician at that workplace. A lot of sexual harassment, claims they get to and from the female in the industry, a lack of trust, just mainly due to it being a male-dominated industry. So this is from customers and management, that they don't really trust the technicians. And obviously from that, they were treated differently, so they weren't given the in-depth jobs, just the basic inspection jobs and servicing jobs, which then leads to that they weren't skilled enough. So in my questionnaire, I just was curious what motivated females to enter the industry, obviously with the preconception that it is very male dominated. So a lot of them was the family was in the family business, so they were working for their dad, their uncle, working with the brothers. But a lot of them had a passion in the industry, so it was something that was embedded growing up. They also mentioned different challenges as in the workshop compared to an office-based job. Every day is a different day, so they would just like the fact that they didn't know what was going to be involved in that day in the workshop. And then the career progression. So obviously automotive isn't just fixing cars. There's so much more progression that's available. So we spoke about that. So one of the other questions I had was, what changes would you recommend for the future? Which is more encouragement in schools. So colleges, universities, take time and go into secondary schools and just talk about the different progression routes through the automotive industry. Reduce gender biases. So obviously by going into schools earlier, they changed the bias of it being just male dominated. One of them was to publicise females in the industry. I know that the IMI do a lot of publicising different things. So just to get that more exposure and then highlight senior females in the industry. So like I say, the manufacturers maybe show case studies of how these senior females got to where they are today, and whether it's just showcasing that, just give them a bit more guidance. So based upon the findings from both my questionnaire and my focus group, it's still clear that women moving into the industry are still facing these challenges. So these are varying from harassment to skills queries. So I think that's definitely something that I need to work upon. And the results from the research has shown that there's been improvements from previous years, and it's still improving year upon year. So having inclusivity and better opportunities are high on companies' agendas to ensure that there's equality throughout. So just out of my experience from when I first started to now, obviously I've seen a massive increase in females in the industry. So something's definitely working, but I feel like it needs to have more exposure. So in the upcoming years, it's clear that women who are working or potentially starting a career in the industry will start to see a decline in the challenge that they face currently. So I think it's overall it's something that's progressing, but at a slow rate. So I think just exposing these different case studies and going into schools and capturing it early will just reduce these challenges. And there's my references. Thank you very much.
Well done, Gav. Excellent. I don't know whether Holly and Ty, I think Ty's got a question.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier about females potentially feeling like they're being hired as what you call a tick box exercise.
Yeah.
What do you think can be done to kind of steer away from that narrative?
I think just as a whole, the diversity hire is quite a touchy subject. But I think just as it should just be equal, regardless of your background or gender or race. It's just I think it doesn't need to be as publicised as much, because I think that's what makes people think X, Y, Z.
Gav, sorry, this might be in your presentation when I come to record it. It might be a really watch the recording. It might be a silly question, but remind me again who said that that was an issue, that women being hired from a token perspective.
That's just come from my research.
Okay, yeah. I just wondered which respondents indicated that.
Someone who's in the industry. Obviously, I don't know who it was, but they was in the motorsport industry, just due to the answers on the questionnaire.
This isn't to negate it. It's just merely a question for you, really. But why would somebody employ an individual that wasn't fully equipped? And because you probably know that women are fully equipped and they are, absolutely skilled, etc. I'm just wondering why an employer would, particularly for their own business, why they'd ever employ anybody that wasn't fully skilled. And what I'm trying to say is it potentially a myth rather than their perception? But
you do see it a lot in motorsport, mainly because of advertisement and just trying to get sponsors in. If they're seen as pushing a female team or a female leader in the motorsport industry, regardless of whether they can do it or not, you do see a lot of media coverage on it.
Okay, interesting. Are you okay stopping the? Well done, Gav. Are you okay stopping the recording, or do I? In the other groups, they can't. They've got no access to the recording for some reason. So, I'll